Right guys, hi. So, this is probably going to be going out a day late, simply because I've been a little bit disorganised. I've been getting stuff out on TikTok, which please do go over and check it out. It's also why this is all in disarray. There's a really cool one planned. I'm trying to recreate the level 1 of Mario from the NES. So, once that's done, that should be rather cool. But for today, over here on YouTube, we are doing part 2 of B&M Bargains. Now, part of the disorganisation means I don't have the pens to show you, but as soon as we flip over, they'll be right there. We're working with the aqua pens today. So, get your cuppers ready. I have coffee today while I'm going to be talking of what we got up to. These were the pens I got for £5 in the purples and blues. I'm going to be using that sketchbook I brought to see, £6. My husband's got his fingers up to show me. £6. They were watercolour, so they were watercolour style activation. I will be going on to some Christmas art after this particular week. So this is my last piece that isn't Christmas, but if you do want to see Christmas art, I've been doing a daily Advent style countdown over on Twitter and Instagram. So I do have loads of Christmas art for you to go look out for. Otherwise, this is the last piece of non-Christmas art, and it's, as I said, part 2 of my cheap art supplies for B&M Bargains. So, cuppers ready, and let's see you on the flip side. Okay guys, so we've got this general pack. As you can see, they're in a really nice box. They look really vibrant, really inviting. They're really nicely packaged. They are in a plastic seal, which nowadays in the UK is actually quite frowned upon. The UK has actually very heavily clamped down on plastics as a whole. I know, but that is about one of the only things. And yes, I do have a tiny little knife, which I really should not be trusted with, because I have stabbed myself with it a few too many times. But since I'm filming my own video, I am not going to ask my husband to use the knife. I'm going to risk poking myself in the finger with it and try and get into the packet. So, and it's only a tiny one. And as my husband's saying, he has had a phone call at work because I slipped and stabbed myself in the leg with one of these before. So we're going to be really careful whenever we use knives on my channel. And yeah, there's a table in the way. It's okay. And look, yeah, it took a while to actually get into this. Look, it's actually quite impressive how bad I am at using these tools. It's a good job I'm not doing a wood carpentry channel or any of that form. Yeah, impressive. Really, 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 really impressive. Come on, get into the actual package, woman. I might actually have to fast forward it in a second for me to get into the package. Oh my God, woman. We're meant to be showing off pens. Seriously? Seriously? Right. I think at this point I actually finally got somewhere. Yep, there we go. And here we go. The pens are actually in really good condition, as you'd expect, and pretty much as you'd expect markers to be. In fairness, I use alcohol markers all the time. They're generally branded very well. They came in a tray, which are really handy for markers. Not all packets do come in the trays. They're lined up in really good order as colours go. And I was about to show you over to where I store my markers. There you go. I've got a collection of trays. Those trays are exceptionally handy. So you love my disorder. I'm not the most ordered artist ever. I think it comes. Some artists have the most ordered workspace. I will do a workspace tour one time when I've actually ordered it a little bit more and it's looking tidy for a bit. Oh, my husband's helped me to do so. But yeah, and I thought I'd test to see if it fit on my trays at all. I got my husband to help, but it doesn't. I mean, I use, oh my goodness, what trays do I use? I'm trying to think of the names of them right now. Spectrum Noir trays, and I found them so useful for connection. I don't need the box. They are findable on Amazon. They work absolutely perfectly, but they don't connect with Spectrum Noir. So for me, I wouldn't put them on top generally. However, the fact that they come in their own trays is useful. They'll connect with themselves, and if you are going to get a collection of them, that would be helpful. Anyway, however, enough waffling about the packaging and how they come. Let's actually see how they work and get some swatches done. I'm going to fast forward to that point because otherwise I'll talk your ear off all day. Oh, I might actually be getting to there. Wait a minute. Yeah, swatches. So, as I said, these are watercolour pens, which means there's a high level of pigment in the pens themselves. So, and that's activated by adding water to them afterwards. So you would lay down the pigment on the pen, or on the pen. Ooh, like colouring your pens, that would be clever. I'm having a really weird Asperger's day where you're going to have me chatting your ear off. I do apologise. You lay your pigment down on, add the water, and that will allow the pigment to go further. So, and it'll allow the blending to occur a lot better. And high quality versions of this, like watercolour pencils, would allow some really interesting and great work. And as you can see, you've got a brush tip, which are the style of tips that I personally really like in my marker art, and I've drawn that off paper. Well done. I personally like in my markers. And the other side, I believe, on these is naturally really nice style tip. A lot of markers come with a chisel tip, which is actually really quite pointless because you don't really want them. So fine nibs like that actually have a lot more use to them. So I'm going to go scroll down so you can see all these done, speed it up a little bit, and then talk about what we've got after we've got all the swatches. I'm going to come in here to comment A, about the blend at the top right before the camera drifts all the way up, and B, just to comment about how these are blending and working as a whole, and to apologise for the camera as a whole. We have a new mount for all the ones from there onwards. The mount I used was dying very dramatically, and as I said, we have a new one. So all videos after this will actually be working a lot better. So thank you for bearing with me, really appreciate it. And yeah, I have actually filmed some after this and the drifting issue has been dealt with. But you can see at top right, one of the big things is the blending that these are capable of. That is really good. You can see there's a great range of colours, but one of the big issues is you don't get rid of all the pen lines, and some of the deeper colours didn't fully disappear. One of the other issues I had, that even though I was working on 160 GSM paper, that was multimedia paper, I was pulling up little bits of paper all the time, little raggy bits that just weren't working all the way. Watercolour paper would probably work better with these, and it's something I would recommend fully if you were going to use these. It's just they ripped up the paper even at this stage, and you'll see later on it got worse. And whether this was the pens or the paper, it became a massive problem. However, the pens themselves, the colours are beautiful. But the ink, whether the paper was what was holding the ink in and not allowing it to blend to its fullest extent, or whether it was just the paper's problem, I couldn't fully tell you because I was working within the constraints of the experiment I was doing here, which was working on the cheap supplies, and there wasn't watercolour paper available in the B&M store I went in. Now, I am certain some B&M stores would sell watercolour paper. I went into one of the smaller ones in our town centre. I've been in larger B&M stores, and I do know that they do have larger art supply sections. So there are cheaper stores that do have watercolour paper. I actually am going to do one with some watercolour pencils that I'm going to be filming in the next couple of days with cheap watercolour paper. So we'll be seeing if that does actually hold up. But you can see here that the lines that I've drawn, they're just holding fast. So that blend just isn't occurring as it should do. But let's go on to see the piece of art I actually tried to create with this. And yeah, that's the main thing. And I'm going to tell you one thing from creating this piece of art, and that is it was one of the biggest challenges in my most recent creations of art as a whole that I've had for a long time. Oh, hello. I have lost you completely. So I'm going to let it go forward so you get a better view, and then I will explain to you the difficulties. Right guys, sorry about giving you a view of my laptop, but have you ever wondered why we actually tape off paper as artists? It's generally to stretch the paper out to allow it to actually have time and space to actually be able to take in the water and the liquid that you're going to add to it. Now, this didn't help this paper, by the way. And adding the water to allow it to spread and work with the pens a little better, and how I would generally work with watercolours didn't help neither, because I was going for a very specific style of scene for the landscape that would do a nice big blend for a sunset. Nope, that was the really biggest, well, most fail of a move I could possibly do. This paper did not like it. In fact, it helps me destroy the paper really quickly. So what I generally would have done with watercolour style paper or any other paper I've ever worked with, which would create me a nice small blend when working with brushes. Now, I've not worked with watercolour pencils neither, but when working with brushes, actually helped me start picking up pieces of paper straight away. Yeah. So if you ever work with these pens, put your pens down first, without a doubt, and then go from there. Don't have any liquid on the paper. And yeah, so everything else I did went wrong. The idea of a landscape wasn't going to happen. But you see, here's one of your biggest lessons from all this. Be adaptable. Because when I started to realise that my idea of a landscape here wasn't going to work, what I was doing here and adding more water, the blending wasn't happening. The colours weren't blending together. That my all the work I'd done at the beginning to see how they blended and how the liquids came out, all of a sudden they weren't doing. They were just staying in the lines I'd drawn on like this. And I was getting no blending. The liquids were doing absolutely nothing. And all of a sudden, yeah, that's all I got. So I had to readjust what I wanted and how I wanted this to go. And I could either have sat there as this progressed and decided and given up completely and decided the artwork was done in and a complete failure, and I could see this paper wasn't going to deal with watercolour artwork full stop. It just wasn't made for it, because even with the simple one, a couple of layers, it just didn't handle it. Or I could adjust the style of art I did, which is where we went. As you can see, it's pulling up bits and rags of paper. That's what I'm pushing off. So I'm going to let this go forward a bit to where I decided and realised the full need for a change of direction and show you where it went. I actually liked where I ended up, even though I hated the medium I had to make it in. Right, so you've seen my rain droplets that I started to drop on. That was to cause a different effect, but still to use the watercolour. And then to draw this flower in the middle. And that was to show that beauty could be found even in the most stressful pieces of art ever. And it was a case of looking for where the strengths lay. And the strengths of this was within the vibrancy of the colours, because the colours are within this are beautiful, and they could still be used to create something beautiful. The art was never going to lie or hang in any high-end gallery, because it's pulling bits of paper up, and that's never going to be something that's going to achieve that. But it could look good if it was turned into a print at some point, if it was polished off. And it's fun to play around with it for kids, particularly, especially for £6. And yeah, so I went for a flower. I particularly liked this, and I started to work on the angles, and so I had a bit of fun with it. I'm not going to recommend these to artists. They, for £6, yeah, they're maybe worth £6. They weren't the best find. The pencils I thought were worth more. I'm not going to be buying more. It may be worth £6, but when you think about the price of an entire set, which they did 72 of, to get all the colours, I think generally I'd rather buy watercolour pencils, which come out cheaper and do the same kind of effect. And I'd say you'd probably get a lot further with your kids getting them. That would be my preference. But that's just where I lie on that. That's one person's opinion. And if you're watching this, maybe you like my opinion, maybe you don't. Maybe you're just watching this to see what I can make. But there you go. I'm going to let you watch the end of this, and I'll talk to you a little bit at the end, and then we'll see, yeah, how this actually turns out. Yeah. Alright guys, so if you liked spending this little time with me, exploring these crazy ass pens, watching me go a little bit insane, trying to work out what to make with them, please do hit this video with a bit of a like and give me a comment. We're going to have a bit of fun this weekend. I've put a bit of a teaser over on Twitter and on my Instagram about where we're going and what I'm doing. I think I said it's going to be Saturday, but it's probably Sunday when it actually will be coming out. Apart from that, yeah, like, subscribe, and do all that good stuff that we do on YouTube. And I'll see you in the next video. Stay safe and well, guys. Bye.